Hello, on this video I'm going to show you how to write to a text file using C++ and also using the ofstream and the fstream classes. For that I'm going to open a new project, a new C++ project, console app, type, click next, then create. I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup on my project. And then now we can start writing some code. So when it comes to working with file, we have three classes. One is the ofstream, which we use to write contents to a file. The other one is fstream, which we use to read from a file. And the last one is the fstream. And the fstream is a mix of reading and writing. So next we have the mode flag. So the flag is what we use when opening a file, and that will determine the behavior that the file writing will be. So with the app, we're just gonna append to the file. It doesn't destroy the contents of the file. The 8 open the file for output and move it to the end of the file. The in is for reading, the out is for writing, and then finally the trunc is for truncating the file. In other words, it destroys the content of a file. So let's write some code and see how these things here behave when we combine the classes together with the flags. So to write the contents for a file, we need to do 3 steps. Step number 1 is to open or create the file. And step number 2 is to write to the file. And then finally step number 3 is to close the file. So for step number 1, to open the file, I want to use the ofstream. And then I'm going to open the file called, and by the way, to use the ofstream, you do need to include the fstream. So I'm going to click here, and I also need to include the namespace standard. Once I add these lines, my file start working. I'm also going to include the string class because I'm going to use that very soon. Alright, so with line 23, I open a file. Now, if this file here doesn't exist, then it will create a file for you. If the file already exists, then it opens the file for you. So this command here opens or creates a new file for you. Alright, step number 2 is to write something to the file. So I'm going to create a variable here, a string, and I'm going to put some text here. So ABC XYZ. And I'll find it to write to the file. I'm going to type my file, and then the left hand operator, and then the value that I want to write to the file. And then finally step number 3 is to close the file. So my file dot close will do the job. So these are the 3 steps to create a file and to write something to the file. Now I'm gonna go to the Solution Explorer. I'm gonna right click on the projects, then open folder in File Explorer, and it opens for me the folder where these files are stored. And this is important because this is the location where the file will be created. If I give the entire path right here, let's say C:, and then something, whatever path you have on your C drive, then you'd save to that location. But if you give no path to the file, it will save on the same location where this is running. So I'm going to run this program And then after that, I'm gonna get the folder that I opened previously from the File Explorer. And if you look right here, there's a file called my test file, and this file has abcxyz in it. So if I double click, it opens for me on Notepad, and here are the contents of the file. Now, if you look right here, the way I opened this file, I didn't put any flag right here because the out is the default flag for when you open a file. So if I put the iOS flag right here for the out, it's the same thing as if I did not have anything here, because out is the default for ofstream. So if I run this class again and I go look at my file is there and it's working just as fine. And if I destroy this file and then run this again, the file comes back. So now I'm going to open this file and I'm going to write something right here. I'm going to write some random text. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I want some content on this file. And then I'm going to run the program again, and then we're going to see what happens to this file if it has a content and you write to the file using the out flag. So run, done. And now if I open the file, I have abcxyz. So in other words, when you open the file using this flag, it will destroy anything that's inside that file before you start writing the contents that you write. All right, so, but what if I don't want to write everything from the string? Let's say I just want to write a partial string. So if you just want to write a partial, instead of using this command, we can use the myfile dot write, and on the write, if you look right here on the IntelliSense, you want a character pointer to the value plus the count. So if you just use the string here, this is not going to work because the string, well, it's not a pointer to a character array. However, we do have the dot data function, and the data function will convert that string into a character pointer. And then here, you're going to put the number of characters that you want to write to the file. So first, I'm going to put the str.size, and this function will give me the size of the str variable. In other words, I'm writing the entire thing to the file again because I'm passing the actual size of string. So if I run this program, I'm back with the same contents. But now, let's write something that's smaller than the string size. Let's write 3. So if I do 3, and then if I run this program, I'm going to get ABC. And that's because I'm getting only 3 characters from that string. So what if we put 2 here only? You will get only 2 characters. So whatever size you put here is whatever number of characters that you're going to get from this string. You do this when you just want to write parts of the string that you have. And you can do this multiple times if you want to. Anytime you write into a file, you can write this multiple times with different sizes, with everything, and however many times you want. So if I run this program, and then if I reopen the file, you're going to see I have written several times partial strings. And also, you can combine with the left shift operator as well and write something else here in the middle, including writing a end of the line. So this end of the line will write a new line into the file. So let me run this program and then I can show it to you the output. So it did write the string from line 29 together with a new line here, and plus whatever other things that the line 30, 31, and 32 wrote. I'm gonna put it back here to the simplest form to write, and now I wanna play with the flags a little bit. So I'm using the out here, and for this time I'm gonna use the app. The app stands for appends. In other words, it will not destroy the contents of the file, it will just add to the contents of the file. So currently my file tests have this text right here. And now I'm gonna run this program now with the appends flag, and let's see what happens. So it did write the ABCXYZ here without destroying the file. So in other words, without the appends, the contents of this file would be deleted from here to the beginning. But because I'm using the app flag, it doesn't. It just adds to the file. So I'm gonna add here a new line every time I write to the file. And I'm also gonna add some extra character here just to be a little different. And then after I run this program, you're gonna see that I do have the XX here. And I also have a new line. So the whole point of the app flag is that you do not delete the file, you just keep on adding to the file. So if you run this several times, you're just going to be adding to the file. And just for fun, I'm going to write a loop here, and I'm going to write the same content to the file 10 times just for fun. And then after I run the program, I have that string here going to the file about 10 times. All right, so I'm gonna delete the loop. And now instead of the app, I'm gonna use the 8 flag. So remember, I do have some contents on the file, and then I'm gonna run this program again, and I'm gonna put 8 flag here just to differentiate the text a little bit. And I'm gonna run this program, and then as you can see, the file got destroyed. Whatever you had on the file is now gone because it overwrote. So if you use the 8 flag, it will overwrite the contents of the file the same way that the out flag did. But the difference now is that with the 8, you can use a function called seekp or seekpoints. So 8 lets you use seekp function. So the seekp is a function that lets you move the stream in a file so you can write to a specific position within the file. I'm gonna write a string now with a bunch of numbers just so we can tell exactly what position that I'm gonna write to. So I'm gonna run this program first just to show you what I have. So now my file has the numbers from 1 to 9 and then the 0 at the end. And over here I'm gonna write something else. I'm gonna write just the letter ABC, and let's see what happens when you write 2 things to the file. So now I have the numbers and the letters ABC. Because I have the 8 flag, I can use the seekp. So right in between, I write the string and then I write this literal constant. I'm gonna change the position of the stream within the file, and that will let me write into a different position of the file. So for that, I'm gonna use the myfile dot seekp, and then here I wanna pass 2 things. One is the position that I wanna write, so I'm gonna put number 2, and then the iOS bag flag. So before I run this program, I'm gonna go back here again and look what I had. So the previous run, the one that I run without a CPP, whenever I wrote ABC, it wrote by the ends of the stream. So the first command wrote these numbers, and then the second command wrote these letters. So I'm gonna run this program again, and let's see what the difference is when I write the ABC here, but after I do the CPP. So this is the file that I have now. So instead of having the numbers 1, 2, 3, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, I have 1, 2, and then he wrote the letter A, B, C. Now, C++ is a zero-indexed language. So because of that, this is position 0, then 2 is position 1, and then here you have position 2. So on position 2, you wrote the letters A, B, C. So it destroyed parts of the text that we had there. So I'm going to double click here and open the file on Notepad. So the file used to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 0, but now I have ABC here. So that means it destroyed parts of the file. Now we can play with this, and let's say I want to start on position 5 this time, and then it writes for me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the letter ABC, and then destroy the rest of the things. Now this file here, you should have 6, 7, 8, and then 9, and then 0. So what happens to the 9 and 0 right here? Well, what happens is that the line in number 30, I'm putting an end of the line here. And every time you put an end of the line, so I'm going to open Notepad++, and I'm going to explain to you what happened by the end of the line. So when I first wrote the numbers, it wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, and then right after 0, it wrote a end line. So the end line is nothing but a carriage return and a line feed. So every time you press enter on the keyboard, you add 2 characters right here by the end of the line. So right now you cannot see the 2 characters, but if I go to view, then show symbol, and then show end of the line, you're gonna see 2 characters here. One is carriage return, the other one is line feed. So these 2 quote invisible characters are there even though you don't see it. And also C++ is well aware of that, so it ignores those 2 characters whenever you're doing a reading of the line or reading character by character. So C++ ignores or hides those 2 characters for you, but they are there. So after we wrote this, we went to position 5 and we wrote ABC plus a carriage return and line feeds. So then after that, we went to position 5, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we wrote A on top of 6, so A, then B on top of 7, and C on top of 8. And then on the 9, it wrote the carriage return, and then over the 0, it overwrote the line feeds. So once everything was said and done, this is what we had. So the carriage return and the line feeds overwrote the last pieces of the numbers that we had here in the beginning. So this is the reason why you don't see all the numbers. So I want to hide the carriage return and line feed here, so you see the reason why you have these characters only after we finish writing the file. But the whole point is that the 8 flag lets you use the seekp, and the seekp lets you choose where in the file that you want to write the next string. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is that instead of using the off stream, I'm going to use this time the f stream. And the f stream is used to read and write from the file at the same time. So let's see how this works. Now, one thing that I forgot to mention right here in the flags is that you can use multiple flags at the same time. So for this scenario right here, I'm going to use the iOS in flag, and then I'm going to also use the iOS out flag to read and write at the same time. So before I write to the file, I'm going to try to read something from the file. So first I'm going to create a string here called read string, and now I'm going to use a function called getLine to read the contents of the file. And the getLine wants the fstream, in this case here it's going to be the my file, comma, and then the string where you want to write that line to. So in my case it's going to be the read. So this command here reads a whole line from the my file fstream and then places into the read string. And here I'm going to display the contents of the read stream just to see what's in there. So I'm going to run this program as is. And here are the contents of the file. And it did get something from the file, which happens to be the first line of the file. And it seems like it did some damage on the file. So I'm going to open this file and I'm going to write a couple of strings right here just for us to see what's happening in this file. Save, and then I'm going to run again. Alright, so when I run, I get the first line of the file, which is the AAA. And then if I come here, I see the contents of the file, but I see here that it seems like line 32 and line 33 should have written something for the file, but it didn't. But now the question is why? Why line 32 and line 33 did not write anything to the file? Well, the way the fstream was designed and implemented, they meant for you to reset the stream if you read and then if you write, or vice versa. So by design of the fstream class, you have to reset this every time you're doing a transition between read and write or write and read. So let's reset this stream and bring this stream back to the beginning of the file. So let's take a look on the file before. And now I'm going to run this program, and then we're going to see what happens when you bring the stream to the beginning of the file. So you read the AA here, no problem. So line 27, read the content of the file and then display the AAA. And then right here on line 30, we did the seekp, which brought the stream to the beginning of the file. And then we wrote the 1, 2, 3 string, which you wrote right here. And then it destroyed parts of the file. And then finally wrote the ABC, which destroy even further parts of the file. So the whole point here, if you use the in and out flags and you mix the read and writes, you do need to reset the file, otherwise it gets lost when you try to write contents to the file. Now I'm going to add one more flag right here. I'm going to write a pen flag. And then I want to see what we had before and what we had after. So this is before the appends. In other words, what we wrote damaged the file. Now I'm going to put the file back to what it was before. And I'm going to save this file before I run the program again. So remember, the only change I did this time is to add the app flag here. So I'm going to run this program. And then here's what happened. so it did not damage the file. It added the numbers and then the ABC string. All right, so I want to do one more test here. So what happens then if we don't add this here? So I'm going to comment this out and I want to see what happens. Even though we do have the append flag here, without resetting the file, will this work? So this is what we have before the change, and then I'm gonna put the contents of the file back to the original contents, and then I'm gonna run this program again to see what happens. So even though I am writing contents to the file right here in the bottom, the numbers and the letters, it seems like it failed. So even if you have the append flag, and if you try to read and write on the same stream, it will fail. So the whole point here is that once you do a operation, either read or write, and then you want to change the operation type, you need to reset the stream. All right, so the last flag that I want to show you is the trunk. Stands for truncate, and I want to see the effects of the trunk does to the file. And this time I do not want to do any reading, but I do want to write, and I do want to write twice right here. So let's see what happens when I use the truncate. So the truncate erased everything from the file before it wrote anything to it. Now, one cool thing about the trunk flag is that it also lets you move around using the seekp. So I'm going to put a seekp right here, and I'm going to go back to 0 in between writes. So I'm going to write the string 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to go back to the beginning and write ABC. So let me run this program. Line 28 wrote the 1, 2, 3, which was right here in the beginning, and then I use seekp to bring it back to the beginning of the file, and then I wrote ABC. So then the ABC damaged the contents the line 28 wrote to the. So what I want you to take from this video is that you have 3 classes: ofstream, ifstream, and fstream. One is to write, the other one is to read, and the other one is to write and read at the same time. Then you have the mode flags, and depending what you use the mode flag, the behavior in which you write the file will change. Also, when you use the fstream and when you read and write at the same time, you might want to use the seekp for repositioning the stream within the file. And also, don't forget, you can use multiple flags at the same time if you choose to do so. Again, every time you use a flag, the behavior will change. Alright, so that's all for this video. Thanks for watching.